If you're thinking about getting your CDL, make sure you're doing your research, and not just your own individual research, but talk it over with your family, with your friends, with the people that are closest to you. Like, hey, I'm looking at making this change. I'm looking at doing this with my life. It's so rewarding. It's such a rewarding job because you know that you are contributing to society in a way that is necessary. We need you. We need truck drivers.
If you're thinking about a career in the trades and you want to know what employers actually look for, what the work is really like, and what nobody tells you before you get started, you're in the right place. Built in the Midwest features conversations that'll help you figure out if this path is for you.
Well, I'm super excited today to have the one, the only, Jillian with Schneider here to do a podcast with today. So thanks for being on the show today.
Absolutely. I am honored to be here.
Really appreciate it. So what's cool about Schneider, so I was going back in the files. Now, the school has been working with Schneider long before I've been with the school. I've been with the school about 7-8 years. The school's been working with Schneider like over 20 years.
Yeah, so twice as long as I've been with Schneider.
Well, twice as long as you've been with Schneider, yeah. And like 3 times as long as I've been with Midwest. And so, but it goes to show you to the extent of the relationship that those two kind of have worked together for decades, to say the least. So kind of where I want to start is maybe where you started at Schneider and in the trucking industry in general.
Yeah, so actually my story, I never thought that I would end up in the transportation industry. When I was a tiny little kid, my grandpa drove for Schneider. But
your grandpa drove Schneider. Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So my grandpa drove for Schneider in the late 70s, early 80s. So when I was a tiny little kid, like I used to crawl around in his truck and like had my little T-shirt that said, "My grandpa drives for Schneider."
No, okay.
He unfortunately had a stroke when I was 7 years old, had to come off the road. But that was my whole experience with the transportation industry before I started at Schneider. So
I'll be darned. So, but something had to have stuck there,
well, it wasn't really a choice that I made actually. So I didn't go to college. I did childcare for like a decade after high school. After that, I did the restaurant industry for a while. And when I got burnt out on the restaurant industry and didn't know what to do, I ended up going to a temp agency. They placed me at Schneider.
Really?
So it was totally random.
Kind of totally random.
When they said, "Oh yeah, we have this role for you at Schneider," I was like, "Okay, well, Grandpa worked there, so like that's kind of cool."
Yeah.
So I actually started.
That could be a good gig,
right?
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I started in the customer service department for 3 months. That was not for me.
How was that? Yeah, I can
that
just
was
tell.
not for me.
Like,
that was not for me. No, I always say it takes a special kind of person to do the customer service side, and I am not that special.
No.
But after that 3-month temp gig was up, I had put in my application for a full-time role in customer service with Schneider because I'm like, I need a job. Like I don't like customer service, but I need a job.
Did you like Schneider? You just didn't like.
I did.
You didn't like that role.
Everyone that I worked with was amazing. They were all super friendly, supportive, all of that. I just didn't like customer service.
It's like the whole customer service thing. Like, you know what?
But I figured if I
like the company, but I like to work in a different part of the company.
Right. So, but I figured if I get in full time with customer service, maybe I can move around later on. Well, the same day that Schneider called me to offer me the full-time role in customer service, the temp agency called me and said, "Hey, we have another temp gig for you at Schneider, but in the recruiting department." I was like, "All right, let's try that.
Let's try that one.
Let's try that. I know I like Schneider. I know I don't like customer service. Let's try recruiting."
Yeah.
So that was supposed to be a 3-month temp gig. A month into it, Schneider hired me on full-time.
I'll be darned. So they saw the value in you and what you provided and your customer service.
Right. No, I mean, I had obviously that customer service experience in the restaurant industry, but I think the restaurant industry kind of ruined me for customer service. Oh,
yes, absolutely. But, as somebody that was a bartender and server as well, it definitely forces you. And I've always been outgoing, but it makes you outgoing in a different way.
Because I was not outgoing.
Oh, you weren't?
No,
okay.
No.
So that had to have been a struggle for you.
Actually, I still consider myself an introvert.
I don't believe that at all. Not even like for a second.
Not necessarily. I mean, definitely not as much as I used to be.
Yeah.
I used to be terribly shy, just like social anxiety. I did not like talking to people. Right. The restaurant industry definitely pushed me out of that.
I think you should be a motivational speaker here. I mean, I'm telling you, like, for other people that are out there, it's like, but it's interesting because I've always been relatively outgoing in everything.
I
and
had
so
to force myself.
You had to force it. So it's just totally different
but
kind of.
But it really was just overcoming that fear
Yeah.
of like speaking in public or the fear of, the social anxiety or whatever. Once I pushed myself out of my comfort zone, I found, hey, it's not that bad actually.
I want to unpack that just a little bit, if you don't mind.
We could get deep.
I know we can. Okay, just a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right. So other people that are like that, because I have friends that are like that are, introverts and they don't like speaking in public. But even more so than that, they don't like crowds and they don't like going out and stuff. Yeah. How did you push yourself through that? I think it's easier said than done. How did you do it?
But it really was just a choice. It was just a choice to this is going to make me uncomfortable, but I know that if I take that step, push myself, I'm going to get over it and become more comfortable with it. I mean, it's just like any fear.
I love
you have
that.
to face your fears.
You got to face your fears.
Right.
And so for you, the best way to get over it was to put yourself in that position over and over and over again. And now, like I said, you're a totally different person.
Right.
Yeah.
And Schneider helped with that too. Like my original role there in the recruiting department was just answering the phones, scheduling the interviews. Yep. Well, then I moved up from that to actually doing the interviews. So I'm getting, more and more comfortable talking with people. And then when I was the recruiter doing the interviews, Schneider offers these classes internally that you can take just to help you in your career. Help, find
just
confidence, learn things. Exactly.
Which
so one
makes
of the
you
classes,
better at the job as well.
Yep. So one of the classes that they offered was giving effective presentations. So before I ever knew that I was going to be in this role, I took that class because I knew public speaking is definitely a fear that I have.
And this could help me tremendously.
Right. I knew that it could help me in my personal life too. I know that I have things that I have overcome that I can help other people with. And if I want to help other people with it, I got to put myself on a stage.
Absolutely.
Yep. So I took that class, effective presentations, and I think it was 6 months after that I got this role where I literally am doing presentations for my career.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you what, I've seen a lot of presentations, and not to toot your horn, but the way you connect with students and the way you interact and the way you present yourself is amazing. I mean, it looks like you've been doing it for years and years and years. And I mean that, So clearly, and I think that is a big takeaway for people that are listening. But to overcome your fears, put yourself in that fearful position where it sucks and it hurts, but but that's the best way.
It might not always be something that works out like that. Maybe you step into something and you're like, actually, this is more than just a fear. I just don't really like this. And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But you never know if you don't try.
No, exactly.
Right? And I think I had gotten to a point in my life where I was like, I have too many regrets already. Yeah. I don't want more. So I'm going to push myself.
And
right.
And you know what? If I fail, I fail.
Exactly.
But
if you learn
I succeed,
from it, it's not really a failure.
No, it's not.
Right? You're going to fall down. You're going to fail. No matter what you're doing, you're going to fail in life.
It's so
but
true.
If you learn from it, it's not a failure.
It's not a failure.
Right.
No.
Pick
And that's
yourself
a great way of looking at failures too. That it's not a failure if you learn from it and you grow and you're able to progress from it, and all of a sudden you're a better version of yourself having gone through it.
Right. It was a quote that I had heard from Mary Pickford, who was an old silent movie era actress.
Oh, interesting.
That she said,
like Charlie Chaplin.
That era. Yeah. She said, and I don't remember it exactly, but it was this thing we call failure. It's not about or how did she say it? I forget how she said it, but she said it's not about the falling down. It's about the staying down.
Oh yeah.
You'll fall down, but if you stay down, then it's failure.
Yeah.
If you get up, then it's never a failure.
No, it's not. It's not, because you've learned from it and you've gotten up. And now like the old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly.
There is some truth to that.
Right.
Sometimes, what did I see on Facebook the other day? Not that I go there for my quotes all the time, but it was.
I think that is where I found that Mary Pickford
exactly. But it was like the sweet isn't so sweet without the bitter. Right. And it's like, sometimes the lows make for higher highs, right? So you
we
have
wouldn't
some
appreciate the sun if we didn't have the nighttime.
absolutely.
We wouldn't appreciate summer if we didn't have the winter.
And you wouldn't appreciate your success if you didn't have some failures.
Right.
So no, I think that's a beautiful thing. Well, all right. So I'm glad we did that. All right. That's what I wanted. I was like, this is really interesting, Jillian, because I didn't know this. I've been working with you for years. I did not know that side of you at all. So I appreciate you kind of opening up about that.
I'm an open book.
So it means a lot. It really does. All right. So going back to Schneider, how long have you been at Schneider, and what's your role right now?
So I have now officially been with Schneider for 10 years.
For 10 years.
Yep,
Okay.
I
Wow.
officially hired on February 15th of 2016. So it's been 10 years. I started just screening the applications to then going up and doing the interviews. And then from that, I moved up to what we call outbound recruiting, where I was cold calling people that hadn't even applied yet, telling them about our opportunities, convincing them to apply, taking them through the whole hiring process, to now this role where I am the field recruiter. So I don't go into the office anymore. I travel around. I cover Wisconsin, the UP, and Northern Illinois. Go around to all the truck driving schools in the area, talk to the students. I do hiring events, job fairs, all of that. And if I'm not traveling, I'm working from home, calling my leads, seeing, hey, we talked a little while ago, just wanted to check in, see.
And I love your Facebook page, because I see you're always bouncing around here and going here and doing this presentation. So literally your life is a bunch of presentations and talking to people and connecting with people, which is
and it's
huge.
Connecting with people that I really love about this job. Like there's just a difference between talking to someone on the phone about their application.
Oh, it's totally different.
Having that personal conversation with someone, making that connection, trying to figure out, okay, what is it exactly that you're looking for? How can I help you find something that fits your needs? And really a lot of times people that are getting their CDL and looking to drive trucks maybe it's a second career for them, or maybe they've had some downfalls in life and they're trying to restart
people getting into career changes and they want to do something different.
Right.
So.
I get a lot of people that were like teachers and they're just burnt out now and need something different, or people that were law enforcement and they can make more money just sitting behind the wheel of a truck than they are out risking their lives.
So they think about it like,
right.
What do I want to do?
It is someone trying to restart their life. And I love that I get to be a part of that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely amazing. Yeah. And so there is a kind of intrinsic reward, you would say, with what you do, being able to change people's lives. Even when we were just talking about Matthew beforehand, and like you knew him, and you're like, oh yeah, you know what? You made that personal connection with him, and maybe it was your personal connection that you made with him, which is why, not only is he applying, but he's interviewing, and and at this point, kind of it's a little bit out of your hands, but you give him.
He applied before I met him, but I will say, that does happen a lot. Where like I make a connection with someone, and they really just
and all of a sudden it's like
my style over the style of other recruiters or whatever.
Absolutely. And the fact that you kind of shook their hand, you get to know them, and all of a sudden it becomes more personal now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I want to go. I want to go. We were just talking about Heather a little bit ago, and doing good, and she's loving Schneider and everything else, and it's like that's the goal. That's what we want.
100%.
So looking at people, and you've worked with a lot of different people, kind of getting into this industry. What would you say? And I know you've seen a lot of success, and you've seen some failures with students as well. What would be factors that are consistent for success, and maybe some factors that you've seen on maybe expectations for failures for people getting into it?
I think the biggest thing, first of all, is do your research before getting into the industry. It's not a regular 9-to-5 job. You're not going to be home every day. It's, you're not even going to be around other people all the time. It is a lot of time alone in a truck, and you're just not going to be home as often. You have to be okay with that. You have to do your research on the industry in general before putting that money and putting that time in to get the CDL.
Absolutely.
That, first of all, is going to make you more successful when you know exactly what you're getting into.
Absolutely. So having that realistic expectation of the industry, and I've heard, and this is something that maybe even as a school we can do a better job with that. Where some people, and I've heard it before. Well, I want to make this much, and I want to be home every night, and it's like, what industry do you think you're getting into here?
You
because
can make good money and you can get good home time.
Absolutely.
But the other thing is it's not just about the industry. It's you're starting out in a brand new career.
Yeah.
You start out at the bottom no matter where you go.
Exactly.
Right? So you can make good money. You can get good home time. You're going to have to put your time in though.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is that'll make you successful is your attitude. What kind of attitude do you have going into it? If you come into it thinking, I know what I want, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to do it my way.
The world owes me everything.
You're just not going to go far.
No.
The most important thing is be teachable. Continue to ask the questions. Listen to the people that have been doing this for years that are trying to help you out.
Yeah.
If you're teachable, you'll go far.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So looking at people that want this as their career, and it's, and I've heard this on both sides, that people come to the school and said, you know what, this is what I want to do as my career and I'm excited about it. And other people are like, well, this is just what I want to do until I find something else. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see a lot of people that get in this and stay in this for their career?
Yeah, I think the majority of the people that get into it do. Because I think the majority know what it is they're getting into. It's not just a meantime thing or, a way to pass time until something else comes along. Most people that are going into this, they know they're putting in time and money and effort to get their CDL in the first place. Most of them, are staying in the industry.
I've heard from a lot of students that getting their CDL and going through that process was one of the hardest things that they've done, because the theory is tough. All the backing maneuvers that you have to do on the road, and the nervousness of being in traffic, and you got a non-synchronized 10-speed, and we still train with a lot of non-synchronized transmissions, but I really do believe it makes you a much better driver. Oh, yeah. Right? I learned when I was in driver's ed on a 1986 Dodge Dakota 5-speed. And I tell you what, I remember stalling it on a hill, and there's a car behind me beeping, and I'm trying to start it while hitting the brake, and we got a hill start.
Mine was a 1989 Colt Vista, little red hatchback 5-speed.
5-speed? You do. You do, yeah.
And it was the very first time my dad took me out. It was pouring down rain. Like, we were parked in front of a building. I could not even see the building. That's how heavy the rain was. Of course, we're on an upgrade too. So
of course. You're always on a hill in a manual. You absolutely are.
And I love that you guys are still training on manual transmissions. Like, even though the industry is going
the industry is going automatic.
It just makes you that much better of a driver.
I really do believe it does.
100%.
I really do believe it does. And I look at when I went through driver's, I learned on a manual. That's it. And my parents pushed me to that, because they said, you know what, when you have to do 19 things at once and have to shift while looking out the road and doing your blinkers and everything, it makes you a better driver. And it really did.
It does. And I will, so my dad took me out and taught me when I was 14.
Fantastic.
I have 4 siblings. As far as I know,
older, younger? Where
I'm
are you
the second oldest.
Second oldest, okay.
I'm the second oldest. So my
kind of charting, spearheading for the rest of the family.
Right, because my older sister, my dad did not take her out at all until she had her temps. The first time that she got behind the wheel, she hit a parked car.
No.
So I think that's probably why
you
he decided,
remember that
I'm gonna teach her when she's 14, give her a little more time to But I'm also the only one that my dad taught in a manual transmission.
Oh.
And all of my siblings will admit that I'm the best driver of all of us.
Wow, interesting.
And I swear it's because it was because
it's a manual transmission. Because there is a lot going on, and just that little hill, I'll never forget it, because I was freaking out, and there's cars behind me, and I had stalled it on the hill, and now you got to hit the brake, and you're trying to let the clutch out, and you got to brake from the fuel, but then trying to and I'm worried about rolling back even more, and I'm like, oh my god, it's just nuts. And so maybe that makes me a better CDL instructor too, because when they're freaking out, I'm like, just relax, no big deal.
That's the thing too. If you want to be a truck driver, you have to be able to multitask.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Have to, even if you're in an automatic transmission, there's a lot going on.
There's still a ton going on.
You have to be able to multitask.
Yeah, because you're going to areas that you've never been to before, on roads that you've never driven on, underneath overpasses that you've never been under.
You got to watch your GPS. You got to watch the cars around you. You got to watch the signs. You got the
hours of service, and then now we're getting into construction season, so you know that. So we're going to see a lot of that going on. So it's It's a fun industry though.
It
That's
is.
for sure.
Keeps you on your toes.
I will tell you, we see a lot of students that get into this industry, and a lot of people that and people always ask, okay, who comes through the school? And it's literally 18 to 80. And everybody in between. I mean, you get kids right out of high school that want to get in this trade, and you get a lot of people that are looking for career changes. Like, you were talking about police officers. I've seen a lot of police officers lately that were like, you know what? I'm kind of over
the stress of the
job
of law enforcement, and the pay is
hard.
not what they deserve for what they do.
And like corrections officers is really common.
I've had a lot of them.
And like some of the stories I've heard from corrections officers, I'm like, I don't care how much they pay me. I don't know if I could ever be a correction officer. I'm like, what those guys go through.
It's a scary job.
It is. Like when you're on high alert all the time, just waiting for somebody to do something. I'm like, nope. Like I like to smile and enjoy. Like part of my job today is getting to talk to Jillian. So I love that. I love this is what I love to do. So I can't imagine being stressed and anxious at work and everything and everything like that.
It's definitely a different thing.
Yes,
you're just behind the wheel of the car. Yeah, or behind the wheel of the truck. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you have to pay attention to, but also you can breathe. For me, I travel a little bit in my car, and that really is like my time to decompress.
Oh, yep.
From all just the pressures of life and being a mom and all of that.
Do you listen to the podcasts or audiobooks?
I'm
music?
I don't really. It's all music.
All music. Okay,
I'm a musician. I'm a singer, so I'm the one that's in my car.
You're
just
a singer
singing
too.
At the top of my lungs.
I didn't know that about you. We have to do more podcasts because I've learned a lot about you.
So
I had no idea.
There was one class here, I think it was like a year ago. Yeah, it was just about a year ago or last summer, maybe early last summer, that one of your students had a guitar with them in class.
I know who that student is.
The blue guitar?
Exactly. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Because he loved playing guitar and he brought it to every class. So
I did jam a little Johnny Cash for them before my presentation. Yes.
No. Folsom Prison Blues?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
All right. I'm a fan. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Johnny Cash was my grandpa's absolute favorite. My grandpa who drove for Schneider.
Yes.
Johnny Cash was his favorite. He wore all blacks all the time. When he passed away, he was buried in his blacks. He's a
huge fan.
Yeah. So Johnny Cash, I'm not a huge fan of country music, but I will take Johnny Cash all day, every day.
Absolutely. Some of that older country I really do like.
Yeah. The older stuff.
The older stuff. Yeah. It's just there is something
Willie
about
Nelson,
it.
Dolly Parton. Johnny Cash. Yes.
Oh my God.
Take
all that.
New
all
stuff
that goes.
New
stuff was like, that. Right. No, nothing wrong with that. I didn't expect that though. So singing, playing guitar. There's a whole other side of Jillian here that I'm not familiar with. So I was just reading transport topics here the other day, and I saw that Schneider is in the top 10 of biggest for-hire carriers in the country or in the world or something. Talk about that if you don't mind on really how big Schneider is and how a big company can provide a lot more than maybe others.
Right. So, and I know a lot of people get nervous about a big corporate company, and, which I understand that hesitation, but Schneider's been around since 1935. So it's been 91 years.
It's been around a long time.
Right.
There's a lot of goodwill there.
We've had a lot of time to figure things out, figure out what works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of time to build up the different opportunities that we have.
Absolutely.
Where newer companies, smaller companies don't have all those different options to offer.
No.
We have everything from
even the technology in your trucks that I've seen online. It's like you guys are always like the tip of the spear when it comes to the best technology out there.
We want to stay ahead of the game, especially now when there's all this AI stuff and whatever. You might as well use it to your advantage, right? So we've been incorporating a lot of that stuff in our operations as well. We have everything from over the road to dedicated accounts, tanker. We've got daily home time for in some areas. I won't say it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It is more rare. That it comes available, but we're also taking advantage of the opportunities to take on new freight.
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
especially in these last few years when the market hasn't been so great.
No, it hasn't.
And smaller companies have had to close their doors. We've been able to buy those companies out, take on their freight. there, and usually it's like, I know there was one in Wisconsin that we bought out where it was an older couple that owned it, and they were wanting to retire and didn't have family to pass it down to anyway. So we're like, we'll take it. We'll buy them.
It's like, come with me.
Right. We'll help you out.
We got you covered on that.
So,
no, but that is, I'll tell you what, just speaking to that part, I've seen a lot of local businesses and small businesses because they have no one to pass it on to. And this is becoming like a terrible trend right now where they just close them down. They just close them down. And like all the people that work there and everything else, they're just out those jobs. And so being able to take it and say, no, we'll continue it on and we'll keep it going. I think that's great because I've seen way too many very successful small businesses just close down because there isn't that next generation to take them over.
Well, if you hear those companies, give them my number.
Okay, I will. I definitely will. Absolutely.
We're always looking for more options, more freight. Of course, the more freight we have, the more drivers we can give jobs to.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you are primarily kind of in the Midwest, region.
Yep.
Talk about maybe hiring right now. Are you bringing on new drivers right now? And from start to finish, kind of through your training program, because this is something I think a lot of people don't realize, that after truck driving school and you get your CDL, doesn't mean you're done. And I tell a lot of students that your training has just begun. Right. The day you pass and get your CDL, your training has just begun, because it really, there's a whole finishing program there that we don't really talk about a lot, but we do talk about in the fact that this will happen, right? You're not getting your truck on your own on day one, nothing like that.
Right.
Talk about that side of things.
Yeah, and I think most people have realistic expectations when it comes to that. They know, they're still going to go through an orientation.
Yeah, they're still green.
Training.
They're still learning.
But I have had the comments that, well, I just went through truck driving school, so why do I have to go through more training? Well, because there's more to it than just driving the truck, right? So we are going to take you and refine your skills and take you to that next level. Mm-hmm. So you know how to drive the truck now. You pass that test. You know how to turn those corners. You know how to, do those tight right turns and back that truck up. But we're going to take it to the next level. We're going to make sure that you are fully confident behind the wheel. And really, our orientation and training is only about 3 weeks long.
Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of companies, it will be longer than that.
Okay.
And if it's shorter than that, I would say maybe
might not
have
be
some
enough
caution,
time. Yeah.
right? It might not be enough to make sure that you are
so kind of
safe.
Ideally, if everyone is meeting your expectations and everything, it's like, okay, we can get out of here in 3 weeks.
Yep.
If maybe you need a little bit longer,
if they need a little bit longer,
depends.
that's fine. Yep. But
Excellent.
our orientation is very individualized as well. It's actually phases of orientation, and you'll move up each phase based on proficiency. So if
it's proficiency based that way, which is great.
If you're a little further ahead of other people in your class, you don't have to sit and wait for them to catch up. You just move on to the next phase.
You might be able to get out of that whole thing a little bit sooner.
It may not take you a full 3 weeks. It may take you 4 weeks. So it is very individualized, which I think is different than a lot of other companies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what can people expect? And we talked about some of these expectations a little bit, but I think it's important for people getting into this, that they realize that yes, there's some home daily or home weekly jobs, but for a lot of OTR, that it's about being out weeks at a time, and you might be able to talk a little bit more to that. Yeah.
And I mean, with us, even if you do over the road, we can still get you home every other weekend.
Okay.
So you don't have to stay out.
So it's not like, and I'm not old, but apparently I'm a little old school because.
Well, you're younger than me.
I know. But I just remember when I was actually on the road, like it was very common to see guys out 3-4 weeks at a time. And so you're telling me like maybe
you don't
not
have
so
to
much.
be.
No,
You can. I mean, we do have drivers that literally don't have a home. They have a P.O. box for their mail, and they live in their truck, and they, save a whole lot of money not having to pay rent or mortgage.
So they have no bills.
Right.
That kind of sounds
maybe
pretty
a phone
good.
bill,
yeah.
But if
I'm gonna go home and talk to my wife. All right, honey, I got the perfect plan. All right, no bills. We're on the road. All right.
Right. But if you need to be home, you can get home every other week. A lot of our over the road drivers are out 11 to 12 days, home every other weekend for 3 days.
Okay.
So you can still be home every other week. In most areas, we have plenty of jobs that can get you home every week. Now, you will want to plan on sleeping in the truck. Now with us, you are assigned your own truck. No one else is using it. So you can leave your personal items in it. You'll have a refrigerator, you'll have a bed, you'll have
awesome.
storage space.
There's no slip seating
Right.
that way, which is
Right.
which is huge because you see
we do have
that
a couple of accounts that would be slip seating, but most of our positions, you're assigned
it's your
your
truck.
own truck. It's your truck.
You can set it up how you want it on the inside and everything.
You can put a TV in there if you want to.
Nice.
You can we have drivers that used to be professional chefs and have a little stovetop in their truck.
Oh,
and
come on. Yeah, exactly.
Do their little
the
cooking
coolers
and stuff
in there so they
right?
get their different
different
drivers
courses, that are
different
gamers
meals.
and have their whole gaming system set up in their trucks. So, that's your little apartment, your little home away from home.
Well, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize is like today's semi trucks are kind of designed as like little campers, right? I mean,
there's so much storage.
There's so much storage, and you have everything that you need in there. People have the microwaves and the refrigerators and like the little burners, and it's just like, you know what? It's comfortable in there.
I talked to one of our female drivers a few weeks ago that said she brings her sewing machine with her in the truck.
No, sewing machine.
Whatever your hobby is.
If I'm sitting there delivering a load or picking one up, what a good opportunity. I love that. I love that. Something that I still talk to a lot of different people about, and was COVID and how COVID changed, I think, our work environment in a lot of respects, but also it made people realize that maybe their job that maybe wasn't deemed essential, and there's a lot of people that got laid off, and they realized that really, and correct me if I'm wrong, but really nobody in the trucking industry did. Right. Because we kept moving. Right. And I think, could you talk about maybe how Schneider got through COVID and their success, being able to get through it?
Yeah, so and that's the thing, like we're always going to need truck drivers.
Yeah,
there's always going to be freight that needs to move. We always need food on the shelves at the grocery store. We always need clothing and toiletries and all of that on the shelves at the stores, right?
Gas in people's vehicles.
Exactly.
That'll always be there.
It would take something catastrophic to get to the point where we don't need truck drivers. Like, we would literally all have to go Amish.
Yeah, no, horse and buggy.
Right? Like, we're always
you're talking about getting some chickens here, I don't know.
I'm going partial
It's a slippery
Amish.
slope. You're going here.
Right? I mean, I'm going to go to the store to buy clothes and toiletries, and, I'm not sewing my own clothes here.
But that's important that I think a lot of people don't realize, is that everything you see around us, everything around you, including the car that you drive, all right.
It all came to us on a truck.
It came to us on a truck, right? And so that stuff never ends, never stops. Even during COVID, nobody stopped eating during COVID, right? And I remember the grocery stores being picked thin there for a minute and everything.
But we still needed drivers. Like, even if people were just ordering food on Uber Eats, well, the truck still needed to deliver the food to the restaurants to make it. So
truckers are really the backbone, I think, of America in a way. And I think COVID really taught us that. I mean, I haven't seen them totally get rid of our service regulations or have those exemptions. There was massive our service exemptions during COVID and everything. And I think a lot of people that we trained that got laid off from COVID, and they said, you know what, I just need a job. And there's all these jobs in the truck industry. And all of a sudden they realized how valuable that CDL was, and those jobs that were out there.
We never stopped hiring throughout it. We still always need drivers. Even if we scale back how many drivers we hire.
Yes.
I mean, we're such a big company. There's always going to be something that we're hiring for.
Absolutely.
We hire
there's always going to be
350 drivers
turnover.
a week, so.
I imagine you have all these drivers that are retiring probably on a weekly basis, and it's just it's a part of it.
Right.
Yes, when you have that many
all
people.
Of that older generation, the boomers, they're starting to retire now. So we're always going to need more drivers.
Yeah,
or just,
and that's not gonna slow down at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially with the boomers, because you have a massive population that are retiring, and then we have some younger people getting into it, but it's like, all right, we need more people getting into these trades and everything else. So the last thing I want to talk about is the safety side of trucking. Yes. Now you mentioned that side of things because CDL drivers, it is one of the more dangerous jobs that are out there, and but I do know Schneider has a lot of different safety things that other companies don't have. Could you talk about that at all?
Yes. I mean, safety is always our number one priority. 100%. Nothing trumps safety. We tell our drivers, you're the captain of your ship. You're the one that's out there in the truck. seeing what's going on around you. If you ever hit unsafe conditions, you have the authority to say, I need to stop, pull over, shut down, and I will let you know when it's safe for me to go again. No one's ever going to try to guilt you into going a little bit further. It's just, there's just nothing in the trailers that's worth risking your life or risking the lives of other people on the road for. We're always looking at new safety features in our equipment, like the collision mitigation system, where, if you're out on the highway and a little car comes and pulls in front of you and slams on their brakes, that truck's automatically going to brake.
It's automatically going to brake. Yeah, see, that stuff never existed when I was in the trucking industry. So, but that's a huge part of safety where it might be a automatic brake faster than you could get to that brake pedal.
Right. And then there's, the lane departure warnings. We have some like front facing and side facing cameras on our trucks that are triggered in case of any incident, just so we can get a view of what's going on around you.
Absolutely.
One of the dangers of being a truck driver is the ignorance of
other people
that are not truck drivers.
Yes,
absolutely. They don't understand how the trucks work. You can't brake as fast as a car can brake. That is a huge, heavy piece of equipment. It's dangerous.
Absolutely.
You need to know how to handle it, and you need to...
You almost have to expect the unexpected from other people.
Exactly. You have to anticipate. That's the word I was looking for. You have to be able to anticipate the actions of other drivers.
And that other people aren't going to be rational sometimes.
Or they're going to hit you and then try to blame you.
Yeah.
When you were paying attention.
And like those cameras, I think I was talking to you about that, how those cameras actually, in so many instances, they exonerate the driver.
Yep, they help protect the driver from lawsuits.
So it's not like you're actually not like spying on the driver.
No.
It's not about spying on it. It's about when somebody does something dumb outside your truck and runs into you or rear-ends you.
It was their fault and not our driver's fault.
Yeah. So if anything, and I will tell you nowadays, I would not want to drive on the road without a camera in the truck, right? Yeah. And I love the fact that on the sides as well, because people just do some dumb stuff out there, and I don't want to be to blame because I can't prove my innocence.
Exactly.
And you have those cameras, and I just think that's so good.
I'll even recommend that drivers have their own driver-facing camera with them.
Absolutely.
Just in case there ever is a question about, were you on your phone? Were you not paying attention? Were you nodding off?
So it makes it even more personal. Say, no, I had two hands on the wheel.
Right.
And they
Here's
cut me
my
off.
video proof.
They cut me off and slammed on the brakes.
Yep.
I try to get to the brakes as quick as possible because typically that would be on the truck driver's fault at that point. But if I can prove you slammed on your brakes in front of me and brake checked me and I hit you, but because you cut me off some of the brakes, well, now I'm in the clear. Wow.
So and we're working on installing the mirrorless technology as well.
I've seen some of your guys' videos on that, and it's bizarre. It doesn't look. It's a truck, but it looks like it's missing some important things.
Right. So there's no mirrors on the sides, and I know there's a couple of other companies that are testing out the technology as well. But we, as far as I know, we're the only ones that have the exemption to not have to have the mirrors on the outside.
Okay.
On the right anymore, and
because the mirror in itself, acts as a big blind spot right there. I've seen that before because I teach students. All right, we're gonna kind of dip and dive around that mirror to make sure we can see. Well, because a vehicle could be hiding right in that mirror. Now you don't. So it's almost by getting rid of mirrors, you almost get rid of some of your blind spots too.
Right.
Potentially, as long as the cameras and the screens, everything works properly.
Right. Yeah. But so it's slow going, getting it installed in all of our trucks. We want to make. Reliable. So what happens if those cameras go out? And now you can just reattach mirrors.
But at the same time, I've been in this industry long enough, and you guys have been pivotal on trying out, testing out this experimental new technology. I think of like back in the day when like side skirts, were just coming out. Schneider was one of the first to come out with side skirts, and even the wheel covers, to give you better fuel efficiency, and I think of DEF. You guys were the first ones to buy the most trucks with the selective catalytic reduction systems and the DEF and the DPF filters. And so, what you do is kind of paving the way for everyone else. And so you kind of take the brunt of the struggle. And then once you prove it works and is successful, then everyone else, like everyone's sitting back like, we'll wait till and see if Schneider
does. Schneider be the test
but
dummy
you see that, don't you? See that? It's like, let Schneider, pay for all this.
That's
and then,
fine. We'll be the one to be the first.
but I think that there's a lot of credit there that, and I think it's important to give credit where credit's due, where you guys are the forefront of a lot of this technology, the forefront of these new trends.
Being a bigger company, we can afford to do things like that, test things out.
Absolutely. And not everything works, but the stuff that does, all of a sudden, you don't see trailers on the road without side skirts anymore. All right. You don't see, I mean, there's so many things that you guys have done. You don't see trucks on the road without selective catalytic reduction systems and DPF and DEF. So what you guys do is just it's contagious to the whole industry. Everyone else follows suit. Like, let's make sure Schneider's successful, and then we'll go from there.
We'll be the trendsetters.
So I love it. I love it. So once again, I want to thank you, Jillian, all right, with Schneider. And if anyone has made it this long in the podcast, all right, we're going to put some links down below on your information or Schneider's information. But I will tell you, as a school that's been working with Schneider for over 20 years, great company to work with, great company to work for, a lot of great opportunities. And like I said, we'll put that information down below. So is there anything else? I'll give you the last word.
I want to thank you, first of all, for having me on here, and to anyone that is listening and looking for, a school to go to. We've been recruiting from you guys for 20 years because we know that you're doing good, solid training. You're sending qualified candidates to us that are going to be hardworking and disciplined. And
that truly means a lot. We really appreciate that. Well, and that's where it's a great partnership. It truly is a win-win where we can work together and we both benefit in a way from it. So, so thank you, Jillian. You have a wonderful day, and thanks for being a part of the show today.
Thanks for having me.